Yo, it's your boy Pri, here on the Voice It Out podcast. Make sure you listen in, tune in. Great conversations are always happening here. It's been a great space. I've loved my time on this podcast. Yeah.
Hi, it's Amrita and I'm back with another episode of the Voice It Out podcast. And today's guest I'm actually quite excited about because I don't think we've had someone like this on the podcast yet, not in season 2 and certainly not in season 3. It's Priyesh Patel. Hello Priyesh, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Now, to give a little bit of an intro about what you do and why we have you on here. So you are a life coach, essentially. You have your own podcast, so big up to you for that. We are obviously podcast family. Your podcast is called Unfiltered, by the way.
That's it, yeah.
And you've got a kind of, I don't know whether it's a focus, but to kind of help women come out of the insecure space that sometimes we find ourselves in.
Mm-hmm.
And you do some work around that with your clients, I guess, right?
Yep.
Cool. So that's basically him. I'm not going to say that's basically him, as in the limit of him is just that. But yeah, so thank you so much for spending the time to come and record with me. Mm-hmm. I'm really excited to talk to you. And I think my first question has got to be, why do you want to do this, or what led you to this kind of career?
To get into coaching?
Anything, coaching, kind of, what kind of podcast you do, like the kind of, I guess, the kind of focus you have on women's insecurities and stuff like that.
Kind of always been unfiltered in my own way. So, and the name came about and it was just, this is probably going to run really well, especially with my mindset and outlook towards how people should be living lives, not necessarily trying to be someone else, but being yourself. And then growing up, I am one of, let's say, 6 cousins. So it's me and my sister. Then I've got 2 cousins, sisters, and another 3. And growing up on my dad's side of the family, all girls, and I'm the only guy. So naturally been brought up with a lot of women in my life, and it's I've had a different outlook in regards to the respect women should have, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And then naturally having a lot of like girl mates, I understood that sometimes there's that respect boundary that probably gets crossed a lot. And so I think growing up, and I feel like the way my mum's brought me up and generally being around a lot of women, I've understood things differently. And I think growing up, I thought maybe it was a bad thing that I was quite good at listening to people. Now it's my gift, if that makes sense. So I jumped into coaching and this unfiltered space, and it's all grown. I used to call myself a fulfillment coach. I think it's still out there, but naturally being more unfiltered now, I've realized over the last 4 years of doing it more religiously as a side hustle, and then now my full-time gig. I don't want to say the South Asian community because that's what it all looks like. It's not South Asian related. It's generally everyone. We all have things that are going on behind the scenes, and we're all trying to be someone in front of this camera, this lens, whether it's on social media, whether it's at work. Like, no, you don't have to be anyone but yourself. If someone's got a problem with that, what they're essentially saying is that you're not right being who you are. If that makes sense. So like coming here right now, I'm dressed very, very differently to possibly how I might have dressed if I go to the gym, or how I might dress when I'm at home chilling. But how I dress isn't a problem. And I feel certain people might not like it, and that'll be totally fine. Other people will gravitate towards it, and that's totally fine. But what is it I want to do? And I feel like that message doesn't get thrown out enough. And we're constantly trying to seek approval and validation by doing things and following industry trends, etc., etc. I'm like, no, like do what it is that you want to do. So the idea of now helping women now specifically, obviously I feel like I've got a good way of listening to women talk, and I feel like I hold a good space and offer a guy's perspective on things. And it, like when I've posted podcast content on TikTok and stuff, naturally I feel sometimes the content I put out there is going to get like a negative reaction. It doesn't. I'll get a message back from a lady saying, it's actually mad you've said it like that. You're right. We don't think of it like from that angle. It makes so much more sense. And I feel like because there are so many challenges that are coming up within this generation right now, and in this phase of life, dating, relationship, marriages, divorces, career promotions, wanting to do something different, becoming an entrepreneur, etc. There's a lot of space right now where people can talk about their shit. Can I swear on this, by the way?
Of course.
Yeah, people can talk about their stuff that's going on and naturally get themselves to a place where this is the issue, but this is where I'd like to be. There's more emphasis right now on obtaining some help along in that process. Hi, my name's Pri. Do you want to chat about it? Maybe I can try and help push you in that direction. And yeah, I suppose that if that answers it, that's kind of like why I've kind of navigated into it. I think, I don't even know if I think. I generally feel when I started my coaching qualification, you had to do some practice coaching to begin with within our cohort. People told me I was really good at it. I had old men out in America. I had some older ladies saying, wow. Not only do I feel heard, but how have you just asked that? What have you listened to when you've said that right now? Because I did not see it from that angle. And all of a sudden now you're holding them accountable to do something that they've never wanted to do for so long, but they know it's going to add value. And so I feel I've got that gift which I can use, and I use it with my clients. I don't coach anyone. I work with individuals that really want to push forward in a certain direction. And also it doesn't necessarily have to be something so tangible where I want to lose this number on the scales, or I want to get into this dress size, or it's generally my confidence is so low. I don't want to continue the next 6 months, the next 12 months. I don't want to get into dating right now knowing that I'm so insecure with the way I look. There's nothing wrong with the way you look. You're so fixated right now on this picture that you need to uphold. No, what are you talking about? Some guy's going to look at you, or some girl might look at you and say, you're amazing. But you're so fixated having to change to be someone else. Nah. And if I drum that in for you and help you rewire whatever it is that makes you think there's something wrong with you, all of a sudden, the way you now attack this new world of being yourself, tell me what that looks like.
That's so interesting, because to go kind of, not go back, but kind of just look at the kind of subjects we've looked at in this podcast in the last 2 seasons, with and without guests. I think a lot of that, when I'm hearing you talking, if it is Asian people that you're talking about, obviously it's not always Asian people. But I think with us Asians, we do have a way that we are conditioned. And I personally, even if I say it on a personal level, I sometimes have to allow myself to snap out of it. And if you can't catch yourself, maybe that's what you're good at. You're good at catching people with just been, hold on, is that your thought, or is that thought had been instilled in you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe that sounds like you've got that skill set to just catch it.
They don't like it, but it's seeing through the bullshit.
Exactly.
So my clients, I warn them well in advance before we start our sessions. You're going to hate me at some point, because you're going to say something and I'm going to hear it and I'm going to be like, whoa, 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 whoa. Why are you now doing this? And they will smile and be like, you're a dick. I don't need this right now. I'm like, no, I know you don't need it. But you hired me right now to help you and hold you accountable. Why are we going into old ways?
Yeah.
Are you ready to date right now? Be honest, because you've just told me you're still healing. You're hurting. Okay, cool, you still want to date? Well, then let's make it very clear to the person that you're speaking to that you're going through this process right now. And that's okay. Own it. But then it's going into the old habits. This ain't working. So why is it not working? What are you doing? Aha, now we know what you're doing.
Okay.
You're doing it to yourself now.
I think a lot of us do that.
Yeah, of course. And like you said, within our community, it happens because we are conditioned in a certain way and not by choice.
No, absolutely not.
And it's weird, like how I see the world, I probably was very much conditioned to do X, Y, and Z. And it came to a point where I can't do this anymore. I need to try and venture out and do me. And I think things just fell into place. Like I wanted to travel in 2020. I couldn't because of COVID. And I remember I spoke to my cousin and her husband. She's like my older sister. And I was like to her, look, listen, do you think it's a good idea for me to do this course? And she was like, any investment in yourself is priceless. Okay, cool. That was all I needed just to put myself into it. And I went into it just to learn more about me, not what does coaching mean. Not to become a new coach and create a new job. And all of a sudden, bosh, find out you're really good at it. boss, you're helping people. Now I'm going to set up a business. Let's just go. It's COVID. Everyone's suffering right now. Let's see if you can add some value. All of a sudden, you've got a client that says, yeah, I'll work with you. Oh, fuck. Okay, this is real. And then all of a sudden, more comes in. And then my content changes. And you realize the likes start dropping because no one wants to see a video about emotional shit, but they resonate with it. And then you'll get a DM to say, that hit home. Oh, really? Do you want to talk about it? Oh, really? Have you got time? Yeah, of course. I can speak to you. Right now, while I'm at this baby stage right now, of course, I've got time. Do you want to... What's your next week looking like? Should we find an hour to talk? Okay. Get them on a call. Get them emotional. Not intentionally, but give them a space to let their emotions out. All of a sudden, they realise, fuck, I could do with some help. It might not be me. You might need therapy right now.
Yeah.
You might not need anything to do with coaching or therapy. What you're really worried about is getting into shape. Okay, cool. I know a bunch of fitness coaches out there. Go speak to them. But now you've taken that first step. It's a lot more easier to now keep that momentum moving forward, right? So that's kind of how it all has panned out and got in there. But within our community, and I think it's changing ever so much now. We're getting to a stage where we are a bit more open to do it, but we're still far away from where it should be. People are taking those steps. It's just it's a gradual progress.
I think it's really different. Obviously, I don't know your family history so much, but I was talking in another episode with another guest recently, actually, about how, for example, if you take me as an example, my parents obviously were Hindu, but my parents are from Africa, and they've obviously been through the journey of moving countries and all the rest of it. And I was trying to explain to her that they're not so much going to understand my generation, because I've always grown up here. I've only seen one kind of life kind of thing. But also I find it difficult understanding what they went through. Mm-hmm. And so I was trying to say to her, what do you think is the solution, if there is one? And she was like, you just need to talk to each other. I said, but if they've been through trauma and they don't recognize it, they've been through the trauma of having to move countries up, the upheaval of it, and they haven't recognized they've been through trauma, and essentially that has then projected onto other people, how are they going to understand my generation? And so she was just like, it just takes communication. And I was just sort of like, I don't think it's just about communication.
So there's an element of understanding.
Right. I think there is.
That's your answer.
Yeah.
You can't go in and try and speak to your parents, as an example, about X, Y, and Z if you're not in a place.
Exactly. But it's the same the other way around. That's what I was trying to say.
Is it though?
I feel like it is.
Run me the scenario.
I don't think there is one. There was just a general scenario of the level of understanding. Because when I'm talking to cousins and stuff like that, I feel like, in a way, we do feel like that generation of our parents, this is just in my family, obviously, who have had to move countries.
Yeah, my dad was from Kenya.
Yeah.
Came here at a very young age.
Yeah.
Grandparents, I think some of the other family members also came from Kenya as well. So totally get it. What you're saying now, though, is that because they've possibly gone through their own story, let's call it story, let's not call it trauma. They've gone through their own story, they've written their own chapters. Life was difficult once upon a time. Times have now changed. And it's a case of how do you then get them to understand what it is that you're going through right now, so they can start to comprehend the story that you're writing, and at the same time be in a place where you can understand where they've come from, so that they can understand where you come from. I think the challenge that we have, so let's ignore the parents right now. The challenge that we have is that we're the ones who can identify that there's a problem at hand. And what I mean by that is, I know first and foremost, my dad, my mum, my grandparents when they were alive, they might not fully get it because they weren't brought up in the era that we're brought up in. Bottom line of it, that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. It's totally
They're
fine.
not meant to get it. But I can try and explain it to them in a way where they can understand, but they may never truly understand. And the saying I always say is that we need to get ourselves into a place where we can accept. We might not agree with what's been said, but we accept that, oh shit, this is how it makes them feel. Fine, okay, cool. But what we can do, because we are of this generation right now, is learn to understand what they've gone through, accept what they do, and understand the fact that, albeit their actions might be completely wrong, they're not doing it intentionally. They just don't know any other way. They never had Pri back then to help them through this stuff. If they spoke to Pri back then, it'd look like a problem. Hence why a lot of them in that generation went through life and felt need to get married. Hence why they had a couple of arranged ones. They needed to work, graft, provide for their family, support, do all of this stuff because that was the way of life, because that's what their parents do and their parents do.
Yeah, that's what they've.
And it's like, I call my parents up with it right now. I'm like, look, no offense, you lot brought us up to do what? To live our lives and to be a bit more, well, to enjoy the fruits of your labor. Essentially, go to university, study, get a great job, because we never had that opportunity. Fantastic. Don't put more pressure on me right now to go get married and have kids, etc., and all of this other stuff that comes up of it to follow what your society was doing back then. Because right now, people are becoming entrepreneurs. People are saying, no, I don't want to do the standard 9 to 5. I just want to do this. But why are you've gone through all of this work right now to then enforce unhappiness on someone to live your dream? Or did you do all of this so that they could live their dreams?
Yeah.
Because the way I want to be a parent moving forward is I want to do everything I can. And also, if my son or my daughter ever turns around and says to me, Dad, I'd love to be a teacher, or I'd love to do some charity work abroad, or this is my idea, this is my plan, this is what I want to do. Great.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm going to try and equip you the best way I can so you can keep that momentum moving forward. But yeah, because that's what we want to do, right? We want to try and provide. But there's this misunderstanding because a lot of, let's say my clients right now, as an example, can't get themselves to a position where they can accept and understand what their parents have gone through and know that everything that happened back then was unintentional. They see it as a personal attack, and then it just creates an extra level of dynamics which doesn't need to be there.
Yeah.
I'm probably going weird off tangents.
No. It makes sense because that's exactly what I was trying to get at, because I'm not saying it's anyone's fault.
Yeah.
But to me, if our parents have been through a certain, like we said, they've created their own story, whether that was because they had to or because they wanted to, either way, I think the expectations and the conditioning comes from a place that they understand, right? So then it kind of sometimes is challenging, maybe for our generation or generations after us, probably a bit more, to understand, as in their grandparents, because obviously we're the in-between, to understand that they are kind of representing a thought process or an ideology of when it happened to them.
Exactly, of course.
And that's not necessarily because they're not trying to understand you, but it's just because that's how they dealt with it.
They also didn't have the lessons to say, this is how you understand. I've had to work so bloody hard with my parents to get them looking at things differently. It's not easy.
No, it's absolutely not.
They're stuck in their ways. And best believe, if my grandparents were alive, I spoke to them, who are you talking to? Don't talk to me like that. It's their way, but they don't realise it's coming from a place of love and thought. But naturally, if you're conditioned a certain way, it's not common knowledge to you. Now, I can't take offence if they don't understand it. I have to just keep trying and realise that they're not purposely trying to not understand me. It's just difficult for them right now to get vulnerable and say, fuck. I remember the one time, and this is why me and my dad's relationship has soared massively. I've spoken about it on my podcast before. We had a very weird father and son relationship. What I mean by that is that I call him Geese. He's my guy kind of thing, right? He's dad now, a bit more often than he ever has been. But like the relationship we had growing up, he was very competitive within his sports, and I got pushed down similar sports to replicate him. And the responses I got back when I used to come home from not doing so well, so cricket was the sport, was, what's the point? Is that it? You might as well just give up at this point. And it got infuriating because it's like, yo, brother, I'm just trying out here just to please you kind of thing. And like, all I could do was, all right, you know what? Should we go practice? Should we go do this together? Nothing ever was of that sort. It never came out like that. And so I retired early. I make the joke. I retired cricket at the age of 16 because fuck that. And I picked up football. Not professionally or anything like that, but my dad couldn't talk to me about football because he had 2 left feet. I could play. I had stamina. I was just committed just to keep going and played a lot of different styles of football, and then went to uni, made football like a sport I would play within like one of the societies I was a part of, won a national tournament. Oh, wow. Fully excited and gassed with that. And then I'm very much into golf right now, and that's because my dad's into golf, and we used to play every now and then randomly. Said I've got a good eye for the sport. But again, wasn't something I was going to get into until COVID. And I remember I went a few times and he would make small digs. What happened? How are you missing that? How are you hitting the ball that far? It's like, and I was like, this is happening again, and I don't want this to happen. So I had to sit down with him. I said, Dad, look, I don't like it when you say things like this. It's a difficult conversation in his office, just me and him. I need to speak to you. I don't like it when you do things like that, when you say these things, because it's going to basically make me want to just stop and not bother trying and give up. I actually like this sport, and I like the fact that we're quite competitive at it. But everything you're saying right now is really driving me the wrong way. It makes me not want to turn up. It makes me not want to go practice. And he's like, fuck, my bad. I didn't know I was doing that. You know, I was only messing. I was like, yeah, I know. But the 16-year-old version of me didn't know you were messing.
Yeah, took it seriously.
I don't want to be in that same boat right now, so I'd appreciate if you could stop. Okay, cool. Fast track 4 years later. We are still very much competitive. But he might message me and be like, what are you doing? Do you want to go to the range and practice? We're constantly asking each other about each other's scores and how we can improve. And he'll be like, do you try this? Why don't you try that? And it's that relationship now wouldn't have existed if I didn't put in the work to say, can you please stop?
Yeah.
He understood, but he didn't understand what he was doing. And that's a lot of the times that's what happens. This generation don't understand what they're doing. And it's not their fault, because his parents probably never conditioned him in a way so he could voice out and say his things, right? But now we have our generation where we can. But so many of us are also scared to make that step and say, please stop, I don't like what you're doing.
Yeah.
I don't think our parents are trying to really upset us and make us feel a certain kind of way.
No.
They just don't know differently.
Yeah, that's true. I think it's so interesting that you said that relationship with your dad, because I do feel like we've talked about so many times on this podcast, that it's still a really kind of, I don't know if it's the stigma is the right word, to talk about men's mental health. And we have had really interesting conversations with different male guests about mental health. And I think that's really interesting that you had this conversation with your dad and you actually sat him down on the level and was just like, this is really not helping me.
Yeah.
But again, I also think you're really lucky that your dad took that on board.
Of course.
Do you see what I mean? Because that conversation could have gone either way.
And fortunately, it had come on the back end of me doing my coaching and understanding how to communicate.
Okay.
Right? Now, there's no green light where what I say right now is going to land. But I had to go from saying, Dad, stop doing this, you're pissing me off. That could turn into a fight. What are you talking about? To, Dad, can I sit down for a second? I need to speak to you about this. It's quite personal. Oh shit, what's up? No, nothing like that. It's just, I hope you don't laugh, but it's really affecting me seriously. Okay, what's up? Don't take any offense to this, because I know you're not doing it on purpose. But I need you to stop making the golf jokes now. Well, what's up? I said, it's robbing me of the wrong way. I don't want to go play anymore. I'm trying to say the right things right now where he understands. I'm not trying to have a go at him. I'm not trying to make him out to be this villain in this. I'm just trying to say, please, could you stop doing this? And look, I know you're not doing it intentionally. That's not your plan. So I know how my dad operates and what possibly needs to be said. It's a case of, we also know how some of our parents, I don't know how your parents might react in the situation. I know within the South Asian community in general, we have traditional parents who are stuck in their ways, very stuck in their ways. I'm talking about dads who don't want to lift a finger.
Yeah.
Women have to do everything.
Yeah.
I know of, what community are you from?
Gujarati.
Okay. So I know in certain other communities, i.e. let's say the Sikh community, there's a lot of things around caste that comes up still. Even in the Gujarati community, there's things around caste.
Yeah, I was just about to say, it's not limited to that, yeah.
So traditionally, there are some, I don't want to say bad people, but there are some old-fashioned ways that are stuck there. Even if you say something and you don't get the response you want, you then have to check yourself in to realize it ain't personal.
Yeah.
They ain't trying to be a dick. Let's just be honest right now. I tell my clients this. I said, you're working with me. Look at the luxury you have. You get to work with me. I hear you out. You get to cry in front of me. You get to tell me about all of these experiences you're going through. Do you think he had that? Do you think she had that?
Precisely that. Exactly.
What would be different if I sat down with your mum or your dad right now, or your gran, etc., for 6 months, for 12 months, constantly helping them get through some of the trauma that might be there living with them, how guilty they feel that they've not been able to provide you with even more. Why aren't you married yet? They're probably thinking they're failing.
Yeah.
It's a generational thing that they possibly never had that support to say, it's okay, your kids are going to be fine. But we're stuck thinking, oh, they've always been like that. Oh,
I think it's really, you're right. This is what I was trying to say. It is a way of communicating, but also comes from a place you need to have an understanding.
You have to be willing to
might
accept.
not go, the conversation might absolutely not go the way that you want it to. And I think that's tough sometimes, even on our generation.
Of course.
Because we're not trying to hurt them either, in the same way that their behaviour is not trying to kind of make you feel a certain way.
You're never going to get it right.
Yeah.
And likewise, they never got it right.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Just generally, you're never going to get it right.
It's a situation where if you want things to move forward for yourself, you have to be selfish in this and say it in a way where you are able to move forward. So the idea of this conversation right now isn't for dad to understand. It's for you to be able to still go and play golf without feeling like you need to put up on a show. So if that conversation went sour and he's like, I don't know what you're talking about, you're talking shit right now, Pri. I'm like, you know what? Okay, cool. I'm going to keep playing, but don't ask me about golf anymore.
You've set your boundary then, right?
We can't have that conversation anymore.
Yeah.
What do you mean we can't? Because I'm just not going to tell you. What's the point? Everything you say is just negative. And you don't want to hear that right now. So that's fine. I know you're not doing it to be a mean person. You're just stuck in your ways. That's cool. But I'm going to create this boundary right now where you're not allowed to enter it. Because if you do, it just creates animosity.
Yeah. I think that's like actually just that actual thought of creating a boundary.
I think a lot of people are afraid to
is tough.
Well, how I talk right now and how I say things, I think based on our childhood as well, there's a lot of trauma where you can't actually stand up for yourself.
You feel guilty. I feel like as a woman, I don't know if this is, I can't obviously speak for a man. Yeah. I think as women, we just generally just feel guilty putting boundaries in place.
Why is that?
I think there's just a level of guilt. I can't explain why, but I think there is a level of guilt. And I've spoken to so many women who do feel a level of guilt to put a boundary.
Because I feel like this is going down something I've spoken about, which might come out soon or not. But yeah, Karen, why is that?
So we had actually my first actual podcast episode with my co-host Shama was why do women feel guilty prioritizing themselves? And even though it was just our perspective, when we had like feedback from whoever had listened, they were sort of like exactly in women, not men, exactly in that same place, that they don't know what it is, but they just feel guilty about it. But we were trying to say there should be no guilt attached to it. If you take 5 minutes to drink a cup of tea and scroll on Instagram or whatever you want to do, why is that making you feel guilty? To just sit down for like 10 minutes, whatever. Just be with yourself for like 10 minutes. You might need that in the day. You might not. You might think it's part of your routine. You might think it's part of your routine once a week, like whatever it is. Why does it make you feel guilty? And we really couldn't answer it.
Let's see if you can answer it now then.
I don't feel guilty though. I feel like I tried to put things in, and that is my boundary, that if it's my mental health that I need to look after, I can't expect someone else to do it for me. So to me, there's a less of a feeling of guilt. But at that time, 2 years ago, I did feel guilty.
Maybe you still do in some capacity.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. But I think I've felt better because I've understood it really helps me.
Yeah. I think generically, why we do these things is from a place of how we've been conditioned and how we like to people please. Because everyone else is so much more important than us.
Yeah. Everyone comes first.
If we say no to them, we're a bad person.
I think there is a level of that attached to it. But for me personally, because I've kept doing it and I've realised how beneficial it is just for me as a person to put a boundary and be like, okay, you know what, I'm going to watch this episode of this, and that's my time for the day. It could be a really really silly thing like that, like literally half an hour episode of something.
Yeah.
That's me being me for the day. And I try to do so basically, it's going to sound really bad, but the thing that I ended up doing that after is I took Stress Awareness Month 2 years ago, and I pledged to do one thing every day, which was towards my mental health. And then I just continued it.
Fair.
So I think it kind of is a soft launch kind of thing for the month.
No, that's good.
And then I realised that, you know what? Sometimes it's literally just 5 minutes of have a 5-minute call with my friend or something. That's me putting me first for the day. And then I felt easier and easier and easier doing it. But I know that's not easy for everyone. I don't know why it isn't, because I think it is a level of what you've just said. You think you're a bad person because you're putting yourself first. But that is a conditioning. You are conditioned to think that, because maybe, for example, when we spoke about it, we and Shama, we realized that it came from our mothers, because our mothers, I say this to my mum all the time, what is wrong with you just sitting for 10 minutes and not doing anything, having a cup of tea, watching your favorite cooking show, whatever it is. No one is telling you to be in the kitchen or cleaning or doing whatever you need to do all the time. It's okay to sit for 10 minutes and delay whatever it is, just for you to just sit there by yourself. And she was like, no, then I have to do this and then I have to do that.
And that's what you just said, that I have to.
Right,
No one
so
has
this
to do
is what I
anything.
mean. 10 minutes is not going to make any difference to that chore or that, like...
But it's reframing that vocabulary. You don't have to do anything.
I've told her that so many times.
You have a choice.
Yeah.
I say it when it comes to say, say, people no, you do need certain things. Like, you need sleep, you need water, you need food. And in my head, I'm thinking, but technically you don't need it. You want it. To survive, you want water to survive. Your body requires it, but you can choose not to have water. Same with food, same with sleep. You can have less hours, more hours. It's entirely up to you, right? With this, within our vocabulary, I have to do this. Says who?
Precisely. You're saying it to yourself, really, aren't you?
When, where or who or what told you that this needs to be done right now for that person? Because if it's part of your job, it might be a little bit different. It's part of your contractual agreement, but fine. But if it's not and you're at home, make it make sense.
I think you're just putting pressure on yourself by that kind of vocab.
To get what? Some approval from some person.
No one does it but me, kind of. That is to me, that is a condition.
Yeah.
But I feel like, I said my feeling of guilt has been less purely because if I've learned in the last 2 years, especially, by me putting myself first, I'm able to help myself more, if you see what I mean. Not just others, but myself. I'm able to help myself because I'm in a better mindset or whatever it is. And I would recommend it to everyone, even if it is, like I said, just 5 or 10 minutes in every day, do something that you enjoy or something that zones you out of whatever your chores or your work or whatever it is. And I feel like that has made so much difference to me. It's a conscious thing I did. I think it's a very conscious thing someone needs to do.
Or just remind yourself there are probably things that you are doing and just highlight that. That's me doing me right now. And it's how can I add to that? How can I add to that? I have a morning routine which I follow. And I shift it around to fit my day and stuff and that. But respectfully, I think even if you're starting on the baby steps of 5 to 7 minutes, I don't think that's enough.
No, it's not. But that's what I mean. As a starting point.
I don't understand why it's so difficult to say no.
To everything, to anything, really, right?
If you don't want to do it, if you haven't got the time for it, why can't you just say no?
Yeah.
You don't even need to apologise for it. It's just...
I feel like that is an outside validation thing for a lot of people as well.
But then
like
that
you say,
says
people pleasing.
But that says that your cup right now of self-love isn't filled and you require other people to fill it up for you. So what does that say about you?
Yeah.
Why don't you go fill up your cup first and don't require mum saying, "Oh, good job."
Yeah, you don't need that.
You don't.
You absolutely don't need it.
The amount of times, and sometimes it comes across quite bad to certain people, they just don't like it. I was speaking to someone, and it's going to sound quite funny if they listen back to it. They were like, "But Pri, I'm the kind of person that would love to make the effort for my friends, my family. Like, I'll go out of my way, kind of thing." I'm like, "That's interesting. Yeah, I don't do that anymore." I said, I used to be that guy that used to go to family parties, even albeit I didn't want to do it. I was shy. I didn't want to be around that crowd. I used to come down with a smile on my face, but really and truly I wanted to be upstairs playing games, whatever. And after a while, I realized when I had to do my studying for my ACA, I had to cut a lot of stuff out. My priority was my exams. I had to get through these exams, unfortunately. I failed a few. I could not fail again. So I missed out on time with my partner at the time. I missed out on going to a number of nice holidays, etc. Exams were number one. That was my job. Sorry. And after a while, it was a case of, well, why do I have to go to any of these things? Someone's getting married to a second, third cousin. We've been invited. Yeah, you lot go. I don't need to come. Not to be rude, sorry, but respectfully, I can 4 hours, 5 hours of a day right now with someone I don't really speak to.
Yeah.
It's good to have that family connection, etc. But if I could spend those 4 or 5 hours doing something for me, isn't that better for me? It's better for them not having me there because I'm probably going to be like, "Yo, what the fuck am I here for?" Complaining or moaning. It's meant to be a celebration. You don't need me there for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's put yourself first in these environments. And we don't do it enough. And it's not hard to say no. It's really not difficult.
I just don't know what scares people about saying no. I think there is an element of, oh no, I can't say no to that because of whatever it is.
Yeah, and it's the conditioning. And it's a case of when you then deep it to how badly this thought process you have is affecting you generally in life, you're always going to be a yes man or yes woman. What does that life look like for you? The partner you're with, can you do this? Yes, 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 yes. Oh, but no, yes. What?
Yeah.
Are you crazy? And like this person I was speaking to, I was like, you're probably not going to like it, but I'm not going to come to anything right now unless you present a case that makes me think, you know what, for you, of course, you know what, for you, I want to do that, so maybe I will. But best believe, like, if I've got other plans going on, I'm not going to be able to attend. What are you talking about? And that's not to be rude or difficult. I can compliment and try and find a way of compromising, but I also have to think, what are your things that you want to do right now? You want to stay in bed for an extra 3 hours and just watch TV and Netflix? Of course. It sounds bad, but respectfully, if I'm not in the right frame of mind, why can't I do that?
Exactly. This is exactly what I mean. So like, if it is for me, if it is binge watching something and that's helping me out because I'm I'm zoning out of everything else.
Exactly.
That's fine by me. Do you get what I mean? But I feel like that's been a journey for me to like get to that stage where I don't feel guilty about it.
But we feel guilty because we have been conditioned and we don't know what changes we're allowed to make. And it's a very difficult one, especially some of the communities within, let's say, the South Asian community as a whole, but the more deeper inner communities. It's very, very disrespectful. It's very rude. No, it's not. Try it. Try it out. See what happens. Tell auntie, no, you can't come. Why? Just don't really want to. What do you mean?
Not in the right frame of mind or whatever it is. I don't think there's a level of understanding that is needed, if you see what I mean.
You know, it gets me thinking, like, if you were very honest with the reasons why you didn't want to go, like, the response that might come back.
Yeah.
Let me tell you why I don't want to come to this birthday party right now. Because you're all going to ask me about what relationships are like, what dating's looking like. And I've just come out of one and I'm heartbroken. I don't want to deal with this right now.
Why
so that's why I don't want to come. Is that okay for you now?
But that's not going to go down very well.
Yeah, is that okay? That's the reason why I don't want to come. Because I am broken.
Yeah.
I'm faking this smile. I want to be at home with an ice cream, popcorn, watch a film and just be miserable. Is that a problem? No, it's not, right? So please stop badgering me to come up to this event. I don't want to come to your reception, whatever it is. Work has been draining this whole week. I've had no sleep. My kids are requiring me to do this. I need a night in.
Yeah.
You don't need an explanation.
No, you absolutely don't. And I think sometimes, a lot of people, around me, and sometimes to a point me as well, and maybe I'm representing quite a lot of people, I think it's the expectation of the reaction that you'll get. You think that someone's just going to be like, oh my God, that's fine, you have fun. Or like, we still want you there. And I have actually started doing it where I am actually not going to family things because I'm putting myself first. Because I genuinely don't want to go. Or literally, I've been really busy at work, need a weekend to myself, whatever it is. And like my parents have come back and been like, oh, they were all asking after you. And I was like, oh, okay, that's good. Is everyone okay? Like,
yeah,
I genuinely don't feel guilty about it because I feel like if you don't put yourself first, who's going to put you first?
It's true. I remember one of my aunties said it to me. She was like, oh, but it'll be so good to see you, this, that, and the other. I haven't seen you in so long. And I was like to her, look, listen, don't do this right now. Don't try and guilt trip me because it's not going to work. You're just going to make yourself look even worse, right? I'd love to come. Don't you think I'd love to come? But honestly, unless you want to pay for my resits or if you want to pay for me to pass what I've got to do right now, don't try and do that. Do you think I'm purposely right now trying to not come to these events? I don't feel smart enough right now, and hence why I'm punishing myself to stay in my room to revise for 8 hours. Do you think I want to be doing this? No. So understand where I'm coming from. Understand I'm not doing it purposely. Just sit there, stop asking questions, leave it. Okay.
Is that the reaction you have?
No, she was like, I know.
You can't say anything.
What can you say to someone when you're trying to be honest and truthful about the fact that I think a lot of the times people don't realise with this whole guilt tripping kind of stuff, you don't want to not help. Yeah. You just might not have the capacity to help.
Exactly that.
You're not trying to be a difficult person, but respectfully, you've got deadlines you've got to meet.
Yeah.
I'm broken, but you want me to smile? How?
Yeah. It is definitely people pleasing.
It's a problem. It's a problem, and it's something ingrained within us. And when we feel like we owe people, we do things differently, and it's like the minute you start understanding you're not here, you're actually up here, and they then come second, life changes. I think a lot of mums that I've spoken to don't like it initially when I say, I know you want to keep putting your kids first, respectfully though, you put yourself first.
Yeah.
Because what your kids are going to take from this, the lessons they're going to take, is that everyone else is always still more important.
Yeah.
No. Your kids are very important, but you can't be the best mum. They won't learn the best lessons if you don't put yourself first. If that means, no, you're not watching TV right now. Mum's watching her show. No, you're not eating that today. We're having this because mum wants to eat this. There's only so much you can do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to ask you, actually, that follows on quite well, because you said, I'm talking about mums, about the work that you do with women. I'm sure you've been asked this before. What makes you think that you have a good understanding of where women are in their heads? That's a very general question, because I know every woman is different.
I'm not an expert. I'm not a genius. I'm just very good at listening. And that's why I can call myself a coach.
Okay.
I've had a lot of comments from family saying, well, how would you help me for my marriage? How would you help me for my divorce? I'm like, I don't need to be an expert. I know you know the answers to all of this stuff. The problem you have right now is you don't want to listen. You don't want someone to call you out on your bullshit. And so when it comes to, let's say, the female anatomy, I don't know anything about it. I'm not a scientist. Did a bit of biology at GCSE, and that's about it. But I understand people.
Yeah.
And I understand the emotions that can come about. And I'm trying to educate myself on it more. Respectfully, though, let's say if we take, let's say, the female hormones, right? My clients right now, and we do this religiously, we reflect weekly on all types of goals. I know there's going to be 1 week within that where things might go a bit sour. Understandably.
Yeah.
And it's then reassuring that person, you're okay. We knew this week was going to come because every month prior to this, we always know that there's going to be 1 week where when it comes to your period, as an example, you're going to feel a certain kind of way where you can't train, or you are going to eat a bit more, or your mood's going to be all over the place. You're going to have a little bit of arguments, or whatever your pain is might be a lot more extreme to the other person. So respectfully, that's okay. And it's reminding them that it's okay.
Yeah.
Right? And so I'm not an expert in this field whatsoever, but I listen and I hear, and I feel like I got taught about it in a book I read, how men always try to save the day and be a hero, and what women are really after is empathy. Whether or not that's true or not, I don't know. But I've learned by just holding space, hearing these individuals out, and calling them out on stuff that they probably don't want to admit, changes the game for them differently. I've got a bunch of ladies I've spoken to in the past who have said, oh no, I can't do this, I can't do that. I'm like, stop lying right now. I can see it in your face, stop lying. You don't want a boyfriend just yet, do you? No, of course I do. I want a relationship. No, you don't. You want to explore, don't you? No, I don't. Yeah, you do. Yes, you do. Admit it. Stop lying. Between me and you right now, stop lying. Yes, you would like to have love long term. No, I said love like that. You want love long term. Respectfully, though, in this moment right now, you don't want to just jump into a relationship. You've been doing a lot of work. You've been healing. You're glowing right now. You're feeling yourself. You want to go out. You want to chat to one person and see if he's your cup of tea, and go to someone else and see if he's your cup of tea. You want to experiment because you want such a long-term relationship. You're sexually frustrated. Whatever it is, it's fine.
Yeah.
Stop bullshitting it.
Yeah.
And I feel like when they hear that and they're like, you know what? Pri's actually said it right now. It's always a non-judgmental space. But they feel, I can actually do that. It's not a bad thing. He's a guy and he's telling me it's not a bad thing. He doesn't judge anyway, but respectfully, I feel accepted in the decisions that I want to make. Even if they go sour and I'm like, we did say you shouldn't really be dating, and you're going to go on date. But it's a case of they're in a space where they can talk about certain things and learn a bit more about the patterns that they're following up on consistently, the mistakes they're making consistently, every learning opportunity they're obtaining from these situations, and also what it is that they really want. So by all means, no expert. You can ask me anything like very scientific or ask me something about a woman. I probably have no idea, and I'll be like, "Oh, my hands up." No. But I'm good at understanding people, and I feel like, don't get me wrong, I would love to say I help men. One of my biggest realizations I've had this year was when I've gone through stuff, it's difficult for me to possibly reach out to my boys about things because it's just something we don't do. Now, I want to hold space and do more private men things, but respectfully, the content I put out and the messages I receive back, women are thanking me for it. So clearly there's something that's working right now. Mm-hmm. They appreciate it. They want to talk. They want to invest in themselves. I'm a coach. I can keep trying to push for someone, but if someone doesn't want to work with me, I'm better off going with the people that enjoy what I'm putting out right now and resonate with it.
Do you think there will ever be a point, I've asked this for quite a few male guests, do you think there will ever be a point where men feel comfortable, and I know this isn't every man, where men genuinely feel comfortable talking to each other? Because I think some men do already, but it requires a sense of, I guess, vulnerability that men, or especially Asian men, I guess, I know it's definitely men in general, but I feel like Asian men, because if we're talking about the British Asian community, genuinely find difficult to talk generally, not even just with other men, but just generally about their mental health when they're not feeling too good or whatever it might be for whatever reason. I feel like people still don't talk.
Do you have any male family members, brothers or uncles?
Cousins, friends, whatever,
You put them in a room right now, hypothetically. Mm-hmm. Have you got a brother? Yeah. You got uncle, cousins? Yeah. Close to any of them?
Yeah, relatively. One or two.
Cool. Let's just say you put 5 of them in a room right now. Mm-hmm. And they're all just there having a drink or eating, whatever it is they're doing, having a good time. And one of them stands up and says, I hate my work. I feel ugly. Nothing's working out for me. I'm suffering. I'm struggling. Your family right now, in this scenario, those other men in there, what do you think they're going to do?
I think there might be a mixture of reaction. Maybe some of them might try to fob it off as if you'll get over it kind of thing.
Fine.
But hopefully there would be one out of those other 4 who would be like trying to actually get more out of it or say that they relate to it or something like that, hopefully.
So the ones that would fob it off, let's say the tone in the voice has come across as very serious right now. Mm-hmm. And you can see water in their eyes. He ain't here to play games. He's telling you straight up, I'm fucked. This isn't a joke. How do you think they're going to react? Because I can see you reacting differently to me right now.
I think they'd probably... So it's a really good question because I'm trying to think which 5 would be in that room. I would hope that they'd at least go and hug him if there was some tears in his eyes. If it wasn't like a verbal conversation, there would be that action of pat on the back or something like that. What's up? Some sort of supportive action.
I didn't know it was that bad. And like these kind of things will get thrown out, right? And so your question there being like there's a problem where men don't do it, right? Asian men don't do it. It takes one person within your circle right now just to say, yeah, guys, just to let you know, honestly, I'm fucked. I don't know. I'm not happy with my relationship. I can't do this. I can't do that. I know you lot might laugh around it, but like, look at me. I'm not laughing anymore. I guarantee you will see a very different response from your boys. And this doesn't come across from just like Asian guys.
Yeah.
In my work group, well, my ex-work group, we call ourselves a squad. We always meet up, we always have banter, jokes, laughs, etc. I genuinely feel it's a mixed group. If I was there and I said, lads, I'm not going to lie, like, I've been having some really dark thoughts recently. I don't think any single one of them would laugh at me and be like, what the fuck are you talking about? You ain't have dark thoughts. I'd be like, no,
generally, make a joke, yeah.
They might initially, you're a coach, how can you have dark thoughts? I'll be like, no, literally, I'm not joking right now. Financially, I'm screwed. I've put all my eggs into this. I don't know what to do. This is going home at home. Mrs. doesn't want anything to do with me. I can 100% say right now, from my beliefs around these individuals that I call my boys and my friends, even though I don't even speak to them regularly or religiously like we used to. Rah, bro. Sorry, man. I don't know what to say. Like, if you want to chat about it, you can always just pick up the phone, or do you want to go outside and chat? But what's going on, man? Bro, nah, come on. It's going to happen, trust me. Chat. Look, let me check in with you tomorrow. That'll be the first thing we do. I'm talking about it because I feel like I'd be that guy. There's only so much we can do because we can't always hold space. Respectfully, though, your boys, your brothers, your dad, in my example with my dad, like, no one wants to see you in pain. If you look at us on a sports team, kind of like on a football pitch, we're all there to help our boys.
Yeah.
We're united on that front. But we have this mindset that it's weak if we do it. And once you take that out and you go and tell someone, I've been feeling depressed recently. I don't know if it is depression or not, but I've been feeling so low. What the fuck? What do you mean? Like, what's going on? Tell me, Jojo. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but shit, man. Do you want to go out? I said, no, I don't want to do that. But your boys will hold space. I'm a strong believer they will do that.
The thing is, I think the bottom line with that is someone has to actually be brave enough to actually say it in the first place.
But that's the thing. Your question is that why don't we do it? It takes one person to say it. So if
I don't think there are enough people who come out and say, even if they're getting affected by something. I feel like there isn't. I don't even just mean men. Sometimes women do that as well.
Yeah.
But I think in the Asian community, like I said, if women are the ones who feel guilt putting themselves first, I think men are kind of conditioned to, come on, you just got to get on with it. It doesn't matter how you're feeling inside. It doesn't matter what kind of lowness or whatever kind of day you're having. Just get on with it.
And no, it's a mindset that's been instilled within us. Don't get me wrong. But to answer your question, it's simply a case of why aren't men doing it? Because the first step hasn't been taken. All it takes is once you've met up at the pub or wherever you've gone, just to say, how's things going? Not good. What do you mean? I mean, not good. Look at you, bro. You're glowing. Trust me, they're not. I ain't playing anymore. They're not. Fuck, what's up? Guarantee conversation changes. But we're scared to do that because if we do it, people might laugh at us. Would you, if you're a guy listening to this right now, would you laugh at your boy telling you right now, or your brother telling you, your nephew, whoever, I'm struggling?
No, absolutely
I need some help.
I'd hope not.
Exactly.
The
first thing you're thinking is, how the fuck do I help this person?
Yeah, how do I get him out of this?
Exactly.
This
you might be calling in the next day. Say, you're all right. What's up? You might be calling other people to check in on them, just to make sure if you don't live with them and stuff, right? It's one of those things where you might not be able to do a lot, but you still will try and do your bit. It's just I genuinely believe you're there. Just take one step.
Yeah.
And see what happens. Don't even see what happens.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah.
It's a very, very interesting space. And it goes for women as well.
Yeah.
If they're going through something, it just takes one conversation for it to possibly push you in a direction to make changes that are going to serve you. But do it then.
I think that's a really big step as well, to just actually do it. And I do think, as we've spoken about so many times on this podcast, that I don't think we as a community, I think we've got better at talking about mental health, but I don't think we're at a space where everyone is comfortable with it. And I think my personal view is we don't talk about it enough.
I think it's changed where we talk about it more than we ever have done.
Yeah.
And then it's a case of, is it a problem? Is it not? Do I look like a snob right now because I'm saying I'm getting therapy and this, that, and the other? But it's a luxury item. Can I afford it? I'm only doing it for the NHS because I can't pay for it, but it costs too much. Am I allowed to invest that in myself? There are a bunch of different questions that come on the back end of it. And it takes like platforms like this and people within this space to keep advocating for it and enforcing it and encouraging people. So I like I say, I help women overcome self-doubt and insecurities. I'm working with men right now as well.
Along those same lines?
Yep.
That's really interesting.
It's all packaged within. It's just, I know more the content I put out there, it's not going to turn up on a guy's feed, and they're not going to double tap it or message me back to say,
Yeah.
I'm going for that as well.
Or very rarely, I guess that would happen.
What might happen is you might have some of your close mates just be like, bro, that was sick, that was good. But it's a lot more different women. It's so interesting you say it from that perspective. Me and my husband are going through this right now. Oh, right, okay, cool. Because I think women are maybe a bit more equipped to identify something a bit more emotional and try and dive into it. Whereas guys, like you said, are going to try and rub it off. But if I just consistently poured out content about men's mental health and went into it, it possibly could change the game. There are other men doing that right now as well. But let me ask you this right now. If we look at it from a perspective of getting the message out, the first place we think of is social media, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Who dominates social media?
Hands down. Who dominates social media?
Men or women?
I think it is probably women. Is it not?
No, I feel like there are, I think like Cristiano Ronaldo has the most followers and he's a guy. You've got YouTubers who are like, I don't know many famous female YouTubers, but I know of within the UK, I know like Mr. Beast, Ronaldo's got a number of subscribers. So it's weird, right? So the stats might say, in terms of who's got the most, it might be guys. But I think in the social media space overall, there's a higher, heavier influence with women than there are men.
Yeah.
And so in that dynamic, if the women aren't talking about it and forcing it out there, who are in this social media space, and guys also follow them and listen to their stuff, you're not going to see a difference. I can talk about it, but if my space isn't naturally attracting guys to come in and listen to it, it's not gonna land.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So when I go on TikTok and I scroll and I see some of these things where you've got like men talking about mental health struggles and stuff, very rare and few would you get that. You'll have more women influencers in this social media space being able to talk about health and insecurities and skincare routines and stuff like that. What men's skincare routine do you see? Where in the background they're talking about the challenges they're going through.
Yeah.
You don't hear it. You don't see it.
I think it's just I don't think it requires a change of content, but maybe just algorithm wise. That you like you say, who's going to see your videos? You probably expect more women to see them.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean men won't see them. But maybe men will it will land differently, like you said, to a man than it would to a woman.
But let's just try it. If we trial it out right now, if we've got some women influencers talk about men's mental health to some degree, where they're talking about their partners and what they've gone through and how they've gone through therapy or coaching or counselling and where they are right now, etc. You might somewhere see a difference in men taking different action. I'm not saying that it's the woman's responsibility. I'm just looking at it like, if we're trying to voice it out, let's voice it out in a way where the challenges that men are going through, they can gravitate towards it. So if you go through any guy's phone right now, social media, what's coming up on their explore page, what are they seeing? How many of them are more mental health related stuff? Probably not. But if you go through a woman's page, you might have a bunch of different pages.
Yeah.
Now what happened if one of those pages advocated for men's mental health?
Yeah.
I just want to see what difference that could possibly make. But that could be a far stretch. I don't know.
That is interesting. But I feel like, I mean, for me personally, I say that we don't talk about men's mental health. I wouldn't be able to identify with what men are going through so much unless I actually researched it or actually really spoke to people who actually wanted to talk about it.
It is a controversial question though. Aren't men then meant to understand what women are going through?
I don't know. Well, personally, I don't think men should understand exactly what a woman is going through. And I don't think women should understand, but there maybe should be a try to understand rather than I totally understand this.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? I feel if we try, like if both the genders try, maybe you can actually find a space where you can actually talk about it.
Yeah, but I'm a guy, then I'm helping women.
Yeah, so that's why I was asking you.
So why can't... to be honest, maybe some guys might actually prefer speaking to women about these things to bring out their feminine side and talk about their stuff.
Yeah.
But if you had more of a push on it, why I work with men, I only work with men because of this, and this. or highlighting it within conversations on podcasts a bit more, etc., you might see a difference. But I feel like it does get overshadowed and overlooked.
Really, you think that, as in men's mental health?
Yeah,
you mean?
it still does, personally. And it's a case of, it might be a topic of the day or a topic of the month, and then it just gets brushed under the side.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, because I've had so many men say to me, "Oh, there's a Women's Day. When's the Men's Day?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, there is a Men's Day. It's in November. We've dedicated a whole episode to it when we started having guests. But it's one of those things where it's like, it kind of just comes and goes. Whereas I don't know whether it's because of I'm a woman that I see this, but I feel like we plan for Women's Day like a month, 2 months in advance.
It's on social media, right?
Yeah, I see everywhere there's events and there's all these kinds of things. And when it comes to Men's Day, it's just like, oh, happy Men's Day. And then that's it. It frustrates me a little bit.
Can I get a bit like very unfiltered with this? It's just an unfiltered opinion. Don't mean any insult or offense. I'm very much of the equality kind of. I feel, based on how life was, where men got a lot more privilege with things, it's a case of now we are going to celebrate more of the women things that come up. Women's Day, International Women's Day, I think that's what it's called, or some of these other things. And like on social media, there's a massive spark around. Yeah. Not just that, but like empowering women to do amazing things, running your business, being influencers, stuff like that. But then I think we've gone so far left of that, we have now neglected some of the men who were deemed privileged, but were doing things that they were biologically brought up to do, i.e. to provide and care.
Yeah.
We weren't steering it back in to say, are you all right with that? Do you want to do that stuff? I've spoken to a number of dads recently, and it's, I've got to do the work while the missus is looking after the young one when she's on maternity leave. Like, it's my responsibility. Out of curiosity, you might miss out on 2 years of close connection with your child.
With your kid.
What can I do? I can't turn around and be like, you work, I want to do this. I've not been built like that, unfortunately. And that's something that comes up a lot, right? Now, imagine you're in a situation right now, and goes for everyone listening. You're a newborn dad. No, you've got a newborn and you're a dad. You're going into work. You don't get as much sleep either. Your wife goes through what she goes through. I don't know what she goes through specifically, but I'm looking at it from a perspective where she's constantly seeing to this child. He's crying, he's feeding, changing, all of this stuff throughout the day. I get that's difficult. Yeah. I've seen my cousin do it. It's not looking good. But I'm also thinking the guy on the other end has to wake up, go to work, put on a brave face, get through all of this shit. Yeah. At the same time, at the back of the mind, know that if an emergency comes off, he has to run back home.
Go.
That's his responsibilities. He's working later hours, probably has to earn more, knows how much this kid is bleeding him in terms of his bank account. And at the same time, put on a brave face to come back to be able to do anything if necessary when mum needs a rest.
Yeah.
Which probably won't happen because she's too heavily invested in. And then he also feels, I can't have fun with my baby.
Yeah.
I can't do this. I can't do that. And when he does, it's a stranger in the room because baby might cry at dad because
hasn't seen him that much, maybe.
And these are small little things that come up.
Yeah.
But who's putting their hand up to say, babe, you know what? I think we need to find a way we split this.
Balance it, yeah.
Because I know you really wanted this baby too. That doesn't come up.
Yeah. It's still stuck in the gender roles, I guess.
But the conversation that comes up, well, you don't know what it feels like to carry a baby for 9 months.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh no, I admit, you know what? I'm sorry that I don't get to go through that. But then note what I have to go through for the next, during those 9 months, having to please you consistently. What I have to go through post that once you've got the baby. The fears that go through my mind to make sure this kid not only is safe, but financially stable as well. Because that's now my role and my responsibility. When what used to calm me down was going to the pub to hang out with my friends, that's out the window right now. I can never be calm. And what happens when the next one comes along?
Yeah.
Or if this is our life right now, where's my break to say, but no one's asking me those questions. What if I feel like I'm failing as a dad right now? I can't talk about that.
Yeah.
And none of that stuff ever gets highlighted.
No. Actually, I did see a daytime show.
Yeah.
Only last week where Ollie Murs was talking about this.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, Ollie Murs is massive. So you kind of it's good that he's someone like that is talking about it, but it's also really, it's kind of a really extreme example in a way because of the lifestyle that he leads. And he talked about when his partner had their daughter and he was on tour. So literally he couldn't even be there at the birth because he was on tour with Take That, I think. So he, for like however long he was on tour with them, he had felt this guilt that I haven't even seen the baby. What is my wife going through? Obviously her mum was there, but like she needs me. I'm also having to work. And I sort of sat there and I was like, oh my God, I genuinely didn't even think about this until that point. And everything you've said is quite, I would say, similar in that scenario. I just don't think we think about that as a society.
We don't.
It's just not thought about.
And that's because it's been conditioned. That's something that would be normal.
Yeah.
And it's a case of then, if we want to be fair in this world and raise equality on both ends, we and it sounds bad, and I know people aren't gonna like it when I say it like this, but we have to navigate our way through all of the shit that we had to deal with, i.e. the women had to deal with, and find a way of finding a balance, not necessarily a case of you don't matter anymore.
Yeah.
It would pain me to think that if I had children that I had to constantly be at work and that I couldn't have that quality time with them.
Yeah, to have that bond with your own kid. Yeah, that is quite sad to be fair.
You think that life is also very short.
Yeah.
How much time are you missing out on because you have other responsibilities that you've got to attend to? It sucks, but conditioned to be a provider, be a supporter, be a carer.
Yeah.
It don't work like that anymore. And it's a very, very difficult conversation to have because some people are very still old fashioned. I put up a video of yeah, I won't get into that. That's a separate conversation for another day. That's a massive conversation for another day.
Okay.
But no.
Thank you. That was actually really that was a really nice note to kind of think about. Even if it is just related to men's mental health, that was a really strong example that people just don't, even if it is just about new dads, I don't think it occurs in society. Obviously, we've got paternity leave now, but in the same way, it's not the same as maternity leave.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, you're totally right.
It goes backwards as well. Like if we talk about some of the things that women have to go through on a monthly basis, periods and stuff, that's not push forward in the work environment.
No, absolutely.
It's not something they ask for. But we've got to just deal with it and expect like women to be fine when they come to work. No, of course they can work from home, or if they don't feel comfortable, can they have time? Of course they're not. If they're not mentally in a good space to do what they got to do. But it's not forced enough. So there's always two sides of this where there are things that men probably want more of, so many things that women want more of. But it's let's stop. Oh, he does this, so she has to. Let's try and find a bit of a better balance between the two and navigate life that way. But
and also understand that there is a difference.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to always be equal in the same way because men and women are not the same.
Exactly.
I think to me, that's the bottom line because it's just like, oh, they should be equal. And I was like, but why do they need to be equal? For example, if we take that menstrual cycle example, men don't go through that. So it's completely different already about how maybe, I don't know, if a woman's kind of mood or mind is in a different place when she's having some project on at work, is going to be different.
Yeah.
And there's no way of like navigating through that at the moment where people can show understanding and it's not seen as a bad thing that, oh, you're not capable of working because of this absolutely normal biological thing that happens to you.
And in certain cases, it's very, very not normal because of how extreme it could be.
Absolutely.
But that's just something that we'll never know because we never experience it.
Yeah.
But if you don't educate and let people know in a way, it won't land, unfortunately. And we can't then create solutions to like try and find balance between that. I didn't know it was that bad. I'm so sorry. Yeah, you know what? That week, let's plan an advance behind it. Let's get other people involved. Whatever the job requires, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
True. I'm going to move on if you don't mind.
That's all good.
So we have a this or that section, which I'll bring in to hopefully non-intensify the conversation. That's even a word. So, okay, are you ready? There's 6 questions, and some of them you can explain if you want to. You don't have to. Some of them are related to your profession, but I don't think I've chosen any that are. So this is good. So we don't have to actually talk about it. Anyway, are you ready?
Yep.
Cool. Sunshine or rainy day?
Sunshine.
Any reason?
Just love the sun.
That's good enough. Healthy snacks or intense workout?
Intense workout.
Okay.
Because I like to eat what I like.
Yeah, I respect that. I'm probably the
I hate
same.
dieting and then knowing that I've got to be clean. Like, I'd rather be able to eat what I like and work it off.
I totally get that. Totally get it. Okay, city or nature?
Ooh, I do love the city. I think part of me growing up would have been nice to have had like more of a nature background, just been a bit more quiet and peaceful. I'm gonna say city.
Yeah, I get that.
I feel like I'm a city boy, but it's I do like being in nature as well, if that makes sense. We'll side with city.
Amazing. Time to yourself or time with others? I feel like this is a difficult one.
I've only started liking more time with myself, and I've realised I don't need to be with other people. But if you had to ask me, I do like being in company.
That's why I said it was a difficult one. I feel like it's difficult to choose because it depends where you are, like in your head, and what you want at that time.
If you ask me, because again, it is by choice. But if you ask me, like, would you spend 24 hours with people, 24 hours by yourself? I'd go with people.
Really?
Yeah.
I would choose myself.
I could do because I've done it myself.
Yeah.
I've also realised that just having someone there, I don't have to speak to them.
Yeah, it's just the presence of them.
It's just they're there.
Yeah.
It feels like, I don't know, I feel a bit more, I don't say safer, but a bit more, you have an option. Whereas when you're alone, you have no option. You're talking to yourself consistently. I can talk to myself with people there. I don't want to speak to you. Just, you know what I mean?
I love that. You're just there.
That's
So
it.
good. Spicy or sour?
See, when I think of sour, I only think of, like, say, sweet. So
I was literally thinking Haribo.
Yeah, but I'm saying spicy.
Okay. Do you take, like, shall I ask you what Nando's spice you are?
Hot, extra hot, all day. Every week. It's got to be done.
Wow. Okay. Last one. Classic or modern? Take that as you may.
Classic or modern? See, that's a difficult one. If you say, like, music. I don't like classical music, but I like classics. You can't beat a classic. Cars, not that I'm a big car head, but everything modern is always just a lot more nicer than anything what was, and the interiors and stuff like that. Let's go with modern.
Amazing. That was the last one.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. To end, would you mind just letting us know where to find you on socials?
Of course, you can find me on my Instagram. It's Uncle Pri with an underscore. TikTok, same, Uncle Pri with an underscore. Or on my website, unfilteredcoaching.com. And it's UNFLT. There's no I in Unfiltered. Just leave it as that.
Okay.
Perfect.
And obviously the podcast is also called
the Unfiltered podcast.
Unfiltered.
There we go.
Check him out. Thank you so much. It's been wonderful talking to you. I feel like we had a kind of a cliff end to the conversation, but we've covered so much stuff. So thank you for that. And also I really respect everything that you said, because it's difficult trying to understand another gender. I personally feel like it's difficult, and you said you're still finding your way, but you're still helping a lot of people, which I think is so important. So yeah, thank you. It's been really nice talking to you.
Much appreciated as well.
Yeah, thank you. Right, so that brings this episode to an end. I said he was a really interesting person, and now you know. If you don't know, get to know. You can find me on Voice It Out Podcast on Instagram. We are just, I think I'm more active on Instagram than anywhere else. So just find us there. And you can find us on all podcasting platforms. Just search for the name of Voice It Out Podcast. And I will see you next time. Remember, don't keep it in. Voice it out. Bye.